If we're saved by grace and sanctified by the Spirit, what's the role of God's law? Welcome back to our series on sanctification, drawn from Sinclair Ferguson's Devoted to God. Today we explore The Law Goes Deep, Chapter 8, tackling a big question. If we're saved by grace and sanctified by the Spirit, what's the role of God's law? Romans 8 verse 4 says Christ came so the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk according to the Spirit. Let's see how God's law shapes our holiness. Some accuse Paul of rejecting God's law, claiming he taught, "Forsake Moses," Acts 21 verse 21. But Paul upheld the law, Romans 3 verse 31, showing it works with the gospel. The law isn't abolished, it's fulfilled in love, Romans 13 verse 10. Love and law aren't opposites. Love motivates obedience while the law directs love. Jesus said, "If you love me, keep my commandments," John 14 verse 15. So let's unpack how. Jesus clarified the significance of the law in the Sermon on the Mount. "I have not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it," Matthew 5 verse 17. Ferguson highlights three ways Jesus fulfills the law, guiding our sanctification. First, we see a permanent significance. The law, especially the Ten Commandments, reflects God's character and original design for humanity. At Sinai, it was contextualized for sinners, protecting and restoring them. Its principles endure, shaping us as God's image bearers, especially as Paul reminds us. We are being renewed in the knowledge after the image of the Creator, Colossians 3:10. We are conforming. Second, obedience and teaching. Jesus lived the law perfectly, showing his beauty. He wasn't irritated by it, but delighted in it, revealing a life of joy and obedience. He also taught its depth. Adultery begins in the heart, murder with a word, Matthew 5 verse 21 through 28. Our righteousness must exceed the Pharisees' externalism, flowing from a spirit-transformed heart. It flows from our core. Third, fulfilling all dimensions. The law's moral, civil, and ceremonial aspects. Jesus fulfilled the ceremonial law through his once-for-all sacrifice, Hebrews 10 verses 1 through 4. And the civil law by building a global church and also putting the church in a wilderness context. The moral law remains written on our hearts by the Spirit, Jeremiah 31:33. Paul describes Christians as not under the law, but under the law of Christ, 1 Corinthians 9 verse 21. We are married to Christ, not the law. But through him we love God's law, as our in-law, Romans 7 verse 4. The Spirit empowers us to obey like a train's engine driving it along the tracks. The law gives direction, the Spirit gives power. As Ralph Erskine wrote, "The gospel gives me feet and hands. A rigid master was a law, demanding brick, denying straw. But when the gospel tongue it sings, it bids me fly and gives me wings." This harmony transforms duty into delight. Cited from Ferguson, page 187. Beloved, God's law isn't a burden, but a guide to reflect his character. Through Christ and his Spirit, we're empowered to live it out. Jesus and Paul emphasize the importance of the law, which is reflected in the New Testament. Obeying God's commands written in our hearts guides our lives and helps us live for God's glory as we undergo a Christian metamorphosis, a progressively being transformed to the heavenly call. Well, thanks again for watching. Lord willing, we'll cover Keep Going, Chapter 9. Until we meet again, may the Lord's blessing and peace be upon you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We're Belgrade URC, a Reformed Bible-believing church in the Gallatin Valley in Belgrade, Montana. We meet Sundays at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., and we love to see you worshiping and fellowshipping with us each Sunday. Learn more about our church at belgradeurc.com, where you can subscribe to our podcasts and use our sermon archive. Until we meet again, may the Lord's blessing and peace be upon you.